Up next we have Nicole who's going to do a reading. Get up for Nicole.
Okay, good. Alright, so I'm used to reading things in front of people, but never my own work necessarily.
Nicole, you do great.
Woo! Thanks. How much have you had to drink?
Not enough.
That's the right answer, yeah.
That's really scary when you hear Ducky say that.
A little bit, huh? Yeah. So basically, I have 3 different stories in the works, and what I did for this is I took the main characters of each one and I kind of created a hypothetical situation. So this kind of sums up what it would be, but just the ending, so we'll see how it unfolds. 3 heroes approached with heavy, eager hearts that pounded both from fear and an impatient desire to go home. The subject before them remained eerily still, watching them with tranquil eyes. Hero 1 took bigger steps, bringing him closer to the subject before the other 2. He never was one to consider himself a leader, but had a tendency to become one. The subject observed Hero 1, examining his tall, muscular form, his tan skin, his long dark hair that had been pulled back, with equally dark and thick eyebrows, and below these were a pair of green eyes that created a pleasant contrast for the hero. Hero 2 differed greatly from the first one. Aside from being a female, she was much shorter, with no well-defined muscles. Her skin was the palest of the 3, her hair a soft light brown, with bright blue eyes that did complement her features, but did not stand out. In comparison, she appeared timid, but stood beside the hero, feeling a new sense of security. Hero 3. A male then stood beside them, not as tall or as fit as the first hero, but not as small or scrawny as the second one. His skin was a few shades darker than fair, and his hair was an average brown. He would appear to be less significant, or perhaps seem as though his features are in between those of the first and second hero. But his bruised dark eyes, which knew of sorrow and of strength, made him appear to be the most significant of the 3. The subject remained well hidden within the shadows, but his eyes continuously observed each hero, who had come from different worlds, and were forced to partake in a series of trials with one another. These 3, despite how desperately they wanted to question this figure, this subject, whatever it was, knew he would not give a straightforward answer. During their journey, they began nicknaming him the philosopher, for he presented them during their trials with questions and scenarios that they had never questioned before. "You've reached the end," the philosopher announced. "Tell me, do you still wish for me to reveal to you what truth is?" The 3 heroes, exhausted and homesick, remained firm, and a silence accompanied them momentarily until Hero 1 stepped forward toward the philosopher. "That's what you want us to do," said the hero, "but we know better. It's easy to look at truth on a small scale and say that it can be defined. But in the grand scheme of things, we've decided that truth about life, love, death, it's all either so complex, so simple that we can never see it, or it does not exist. If it is complex," Hero 2 spoke, "then our questions will only further increase its perplexity. If it is simple," Hero 3 chimed in, "then it's a lost cause. We're never satisfied with what we're told. If it doesn't exist," Hero 1 spoke again, "then it is one less thing to worry about. We've lost interest in whatever truth is earlier on this journey. How can I with everything I've experienced? I've finally learned what it's like to want to die. I've realized how empty and useless life can be, but people who don't want to hear it will look at you without really seeing you and give you words that carry no weight just so that they don't feel burdened. I've also learned, however, that goals are no longer what keep me alive. I can't live by obligation. I'm living because I want to. I have learned," Hero 2 said, "that we are ultimately selfish. We don't want to lose people because of how they've affected our lives, how they made us feel, and what they've done for us. Sometimes we do good for what seems like the sake of others, but is really for our own reputations or to avoid guilt. It doesn't mean that we don't care about others, but that everything can be traced back to our own selfish reasoning. And we shouldn't be afraid of that. And I have learned, Hero 3 said, that we can never be content with ourselves. We can never be truly happy with who we are because we're always looking for excitement. We try to find new ways to fill the void, to change things up, to create conflict, and perhaps we should, but in ways that will help us to develop. If we are ever satisfied with our lives, it will only become dull from there. Another silence crept by, and only the sound of the unsteady breathing from the heroes could be heard. Their hearts continued to race, but the fear was diminishing, and their confidence remained. We don't expect you to tell us if any of this is right or wrong, Hero 1 said. We don't believe there truly is such a thing, but what you have put us through was not done in vain. We believe you know this. Either way, we are done with guessing games, and we're done wondering. All we want to do is go home with what we have learned and proceed onward. The philosopher, still not having moved an inch, finally let a corner of his mouth curl upward. He took one last look at each hero, who stood up straight and ready, and though they were eager, he could sense their impatience fading even as he finally stepped toward them. It is time then for you three to go home.